Hey guys, what's up? It's Justin. I'm going to do a little color correction tutorial for you guys today because color correction is a major part of graphics. Like, if you don't make a good color correction, your background can turn out super dumb. And it just, it won't look good. Like, this background without color correction, this is it without color correction right now. And it's kind of, bland and it doesn't stand out very well. But then when you add my CC layers, it's like, wow! And like it's all bright and like the lighting on the text looks really good and like the color streaks really stand out. So I'm going to go through like some of the adjustment layers and gradient maps and like what you need to do to, make a successful CC. I'm going to start over from scratch though. So let's do a new group, and if you completely have no idea, you go to layer, new adjustment layer, and let's start out with a gradient map. So what these are, it's like you map the colors on your thing to the colors like of the gradient. So like this one's really popular. People do that, and they set the blending mode to overlay like that, and it gives it like a reddish tint, and it looks really good. And a lot of people like it, so I'll leave that one on there. And another one I like to use is hue and saturation. You can do a lot of difference. Like, you can use these presets, and I use sepia a lot, and it gives it like a washed out orange effect. And here's another point that I planned on making. So adjustment layers work just like actual layers, in the fact that like the order makes a difference. Like like this sepia layer on top of this gradient map, like if I switch the order, it's completely different. Like, you can't just have like a bunch of CC layers like all like together and like expect them to be like the same every time. You have to stack them in the correct way with the same like values for like the blending mode and opacity for like everything to work how you want it to. So you build your CCs from the bottom to the top. And sometimes like I'll even start with like a black and white layer on the bottom. So like all the colors of my original image will be gone, and I could just start from scratch building it from there. And that turns out cool sometimes if that's, what you want to do. And it'll make everything more consistent. So yeah, let's keep going with this. I'm going to add another gradient map because those add more contrast by themselves. Let's see what we got. You should really get the vintage gradients, which are these in this section right here. I'll try to find a download link for them and put it on the description so you guys can get them, because these things are really, really great. Like, I use these on almost every background I make because, they look really good. I mean, if you had them to normal, like, obviously that doesn't look very good, but change it to, like, overlay or soft light or something like that. Like, I really like this in green, actually. Turns out kind of nice. So, yeah, moving on. Let's look for another one. Alright, another one I like to use is hue and saturation, and change it to old style. Like, these presets up here, like, they're there for a reason because they're good, and it gives it like a more washed out effects, and brings the contrast. Like, if you have a lot of gradient maps, like, your contrast will go way, way, way up, and it'll look dumb because you have like really dark colors and really bright colors, and they don't like blend very well. So hue and saturation helps to fix that up a little bit. And what's another good one that I can show you guys? Levels, right? So I'll show you how to use levels and curves because these are pretty important. I use both of these on almost all my backgrounds. So for levels, what I normally do is like this middle arrow here, it represents like the midtones. So you can bring it back like this, and like everything will get brighter. So you don't want it like that. So you can bring this back one up, which is the darker tones, and it'll like add contrast, but it'll like add it in a realistic way. I don't know how else to explain it, but it looks like it gives it a more realistic feel than like just upping the contrast on a contrast slider. Like, I really like the effect that gives. I don't know how else to describe it. And curves. If you like double click on this thing, it'll reopen up this little adjustment layer thing. Like, you can add contrast here by dragging the top up like this and the bottom down like that, and it'll get like really contrasted, but that's not what I want to do. So I was just showing you that for like an example. Delete that, and I'll add it again. Curves. What curves are really useful for is like changing like the red, green, and blue. So if you like want to add a more reddish tint to this, like see how it's all greenish blue now, a turquoisey color. Like I can bring the red up, and it'll like add the reds back in, so it'll give it like a more full color, if you know what I mean. Kind of hard to explain that, but like now I can bring the greens down a little bit, and now it's like a bluish red, and I like that color better than like what it was before. It looks more like the lights are affecting the tea better, and the colors are more real instead of just like a bland like C4D material color. In another tutorial later, I'm going to show you guys like how to make like lighting, like see how the lighting on the C4D looks like more realistic instead of just a gradient overlay. Like you can use gradient overlays, but I'd highly suggest you use more than that, because like just having like a line right here where the black and white are, I mean, that doesn't look real, and everyone does it. It doesn't really look that good. So if you make it like this, where it like actually fades in and out, like your backgrounds become a lot better, and you know you can get to become a better designer. So if you have any other questions about like color correction or anything like any of these layers, how you should use them. And another thing is like you can set these blending modes to be other things. Like you can play around with this and like see how each one looks. You obviously don't want to do that because that looks dumb. But see, like that, this could be an interesting effect if you messed around. Like all these layers are set for this to be on soft light because that's what it was. But that color dodge on the gradient map looks kind of cool. So you could play with that and try to make it look better and more realistic, and you know, make your backgrounds better. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and found it helpful and learned something. I'll link the vintage gradients because you know they're really great, and you should use them all the time because they're that fucking sexy. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later.